So at this point, if Amorim doesn't give Sekou Kone significant minutes over the next 4 Premier League games, I'm going to be hugely concerned about his talent ID and his willingness to give youth prospects a chance. Because whilst you could make the argument that it's a bit too early for the likes of Mantato, Kakonki, the Fletcher twins and others, which I personally disagree with, I just don't see how you can make the argument with Kone. Because for the last few months now, he's been consistently putting in incredibly impressive performances for the under-21s, and from watching him you can clearly see that he possesses the key attributes that not only Manchester United lack, but also the attributes that give him the potential to develop into one of the most complete central midfielders in the Premier League. And so in this video I'm going to be breaking down exactly what those attributes are, before analysing a few other young central midfielders who United scouts should be keeping an eye on. But before I come on to that, a quick reminder, if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including this 2006-2007 white Manchester United away shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, which was actually my first football shirt as a kid. They've also got other club and international retro shirts, as well as the new season jerseys when they do come out in the summer as well. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. So what exactly are the key attributes that Sekou Kone has that I think shows he has elite level potential? Well, first of all, from a defensive point of view, he's very reminiscent of N'Golo Kante, in the sense that on first glance he doesn't seem that imposing as a ball-winning midfielder. He is 4 inches taller than Kante at 5'10", but he does have quite a slender build. However, like the Frenchman, he has a unique ability to cover ground extremely quickly, with his anticipation of where a pass is going being a second or two quicker than anyone else on the pitch, and he's able to almost glide over short distances, appearing out of nowhere to make an interception or tackle. And when it comes to his tackling, despite not being the most imposing physically in terms of his stature, at least in youth football anyway, he's incredibly dominant in these physical duels, having that Ugarte-like ability to assertively and without hesitation almost throw himself into duels, which combined with his tackling technique enables him to win the ball from situations and angles where most midfielders would have to simply hold their ground and keep goal side of the opposition player with the ball. And this is where the comparisons to Moises Caicedo become very apparent as well. But the reason I rate Sekou Kone so highly is that already at the age of 19, it's clear that he's not just a sole ball winner, definitely not limited in the same way you could say Ugarte is. And in fact, despite being an excellent ball winner, you could actually argue that Kone is better in possession as a deeper line playmaker than he is out of possession defensively. See, in possession, Kone is different to a lot of other young central midfielders, in the sense that he has the confidence and composure to receive the ball, and rather than simply looking to play the simple sideways pass, to keep the ball circulating, which is definitely needed at times, he seems to be always looking for that forward pass, specifically through the centre of the pitch, and when watching him you can see that he often does this using a disguised technique, shaping like he's going to play the pass in one direction before subtly feeding a central pass in another, playing around the opposition presser and allowing United to progress the ball through the centre of the pitch, which is something that the first team have definitely been lacking this season. However, the reason I see him developing into more of a deeper line playmaker than either a ball winner or a box-to-box midfielder, even though he certainly has a skill set to play both of those roles, is that he also has the passing range and vision to play longer passes as well, able to release runners in behind the back line with perfectly weighted passes, enabling him to progress the ball from in front of the opposition's defensive shape in the middle third to in behind the back line in the final third with just one direct pass. And if this wasn't enough, like Moises Caicedo, he's also highly effective in the build-up phase. We have seen United struggle when trying to play out of an aggressive man-to-man press in their defensive third, which is partly down to Amorim's insistence on pushing the central centre-back up to the edge of the box, usually being Maguire or De Ligt, who are nowhere near fluid enough with their movement or have the technical ability to be able to play out of pressure with their back to goal, but also due to Ugarte and Casemiro being two players who lack this fluidity and ability to turn swiftly and unexpectedly out of pressure when receiving the ball. Sekou Kone on the other hand has that Moises Caicedo-like ability to drop deep to receive the ball before using a fluid drop of the shoulder and a burst of pace to wrong foot the pressing player behind and then driving forward out of the pressure, alongside being able to use one-touch bounce passes that allow United to entice the press and then efficiently play around and out of it. Both Bruno and Mainu can do this, but Kone has that burst of acceleration and the overall athleticism that they don't quite have to the same level. And so this is why I say that once Sekou Kone is able to adjust to the speed and the physicality of senior football, he could provide something that none of the other United central midfielders can to that level, which in turn is going to improve United's ability to progress the ball out of pressure in the build-up phase, which is arguably the area we've struggled with most this season. But also, as I've spoken about before, United lack athleticism and pace in central midfield, and Kone would provide this, not just from a defensive point of view, but also offensively as well. Either in settled possession where he can receive the ball, and if the opportunity is there, he can take it upon himself to drive forward into the space, looking to either break past a midfield line or force one of them to step out and commit, wherefrom Kone then has the ability to find an incisive pass beyond them, working the ball into a player in the space that they vacated. But Kone can also aid United's quick transitional attack as well, receiving possession after a turnover, and rather than having to find a forward pass to progress the attack, he can carry the ball into the space available, driving the attack forward himself. And I have spoken previously about how a player like Ederson could do this for United, and if you do want to check out that video, as well as some of my others, I'll leave them linked in the description and in the eye above. And so for me next season, Sekou Kone has to be playing a significant role in the squad, which is why I've been adamant that he needs game time this season, in order to get him up to speed and used to the intensity of senior football, whilst also allowing us to see how good he actually is on current ability. We have Agate, Mainu and Bruno as central midfield options, and if Casemiro and Toby Collier are sold, which I think they should be, with Eriksen also leaving on a free, without Sekou Kone being ready to play a significant role, United would probably need at least 2 other central midfielders to come into the squad. However, with our budget being tight, if we did want to go big on a central midfield signing, maybe either Ederson or Adam Wharton for example, having Sekou Kone as an up-to-speed squad depth option, as well as maybe re-signing Maxi Oyedele for his £15 million buyback clause, which with the reported 50% sell-on clause that United have maybe also applying, taking the fee to £7.5 million, which I think gives United a far superior set of central midfielders to the options that we currently have. But what about some other young central midfielders that United scouts should be keeping an eye on, not necessarily for this summer but for the long term? Well, Adrian Bernabé is someone that I've been really impressed with this season. The 23-year-old Spaniard, who is 24 at the end of May, came through La Masia and then the Manchester City Youth Academy, but after his contract expired in 2021 at City, he was signed on a free as a 20-year-old by Parma. Now from the eye test, Adrian Bernabé ticks a lot of boxes, a high level of technical ability, whether this is receiving the ball in deeper areas with his back to go under pressure and being able to drop a shoulder and then drive away from the pressing player, being composed and confident in possession, excelling as a deeper line playmaker who can split the midfield with passes between the lines, switching play with long passes out to the flanks, or creating from deep with curling passes to release runners in behind. But he's also an astute ball carrier as well, able to drive forward with the ball and evade oncoming challenges, with his signature move being when he touches the ball back across the presser and running onto the other side. And statistically he looks just as impressive as well, ranking very highly for the amount of long passes and switches he completes, alongside sitting in the high 80th percentiles for his progressive passes and his crosses and passes into the final third. For his ball carrying and dribbling, similarly his output is very impressive, and he does have an eye for goal when arriving late into the box, with his technique, placement and power with the inside of his left foot another credit to his game, which to be fair hasn't been seen as much this season goal scoring wise, but last season he did pick up 8 goals in 35 Serie A games. Now Bernabé doesn't have the defensive, athletic or physical attributes of someone like Adam Wharton or even Ederson, but similar to Angelo Stiller, he's an extremely effective ball progressor and creator from deeper areas, whilst also having the type of press resistance that is crucial for any side who wants to be able to play out of the defensive third against aggressive pressure. But the main concern would be his injuries, as he did pick up a 2-month-long hamstring injury back in November, and has recently also picked up another hamstring injury, so despite his obvious talent, that would be something to keep an eye on. But considering Parma signed him on a free, and he only has a contract until 2027, he is the sort of value for money signing that United should be keeping tabs on. And another young central midfielder who I think has a lot of the key attributes needed to be a top-level modern-day central midfielder in the future is Shakhtar's 21-year-old Brazilian Marlon Gomes, who they signed from Vasco da Gama back in January 2024 for around £10 million. See, whereas Adrian Bernabé is far more of a technically gifted deeper line playmaker, Marlon Gomes is more of a dynamic box-to-box midfielder, being quite similar to Sekou Kone in the sense that he has a very front-foot defending style, capable of reading where a pass is going before being able to move quickly over shorter distances to jump in front and make an interception. Like Sekou Kone, he's also a very good ball carrier, being capable of driving into open space, but he also has the necessary press resistance to develop into a complete modern day central midfielder. Fluid when turning quickly, quick footwork and close ball control, and able to drop a shoulder and flick the ball before driving past a pressing player. And he's also a good creator from deep as well, able to put finesse and curl on his passes, which combined with his incisive passing between the lines makes him a creative and ball progressing threat in central midfield. Now at the moment I will concede it's hard to draw a full assessment on how good he actually is, due to him playing in the Ukrainian league, but like Sekou Kone, I think he seems to have the raw attributes that could allow him to develop into a central midfielder that would be perfectly suited to the Premier League and a midfield double pivot. So he's definitely a player that I think United should be looking out for. So let me know what you think of Sekou Kone and the other two players I've mentioned in this video in the comment section below. Also, if you want to pick up any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below, and you can use code ATLANTIS at checkout for a discount for a limited time. But if you do want to sign up to my Patreon to read the articles or join the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.